Greatness. Great men and women are ordinary people who do extraordinary things. Great people are not born great, they grow great. So as you search for the right career path and gradually become great, let your dreams light up your path and your inner radiance shine for the world to see.
Hello and welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Center Circle Show. As usual, we have a very exciting show for you. We're going to be talking about the UEFA Champions League. We're going to be talking about the Premier League, also a bit of Formula One, and tennis is coming up on today's show. And who better to talk sport with than Akura Ada. Emmanuel Akura Ada is on the show again today. After the break, I'll be introducing him and we'll be getting straight into today's order. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Center Circle Show, and I told you before the break I have Emmanuel Akura Ada on the show. Emmanuel, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Adelani.
All right, that's a very nice jersey you have indeed. Well, it's a pity this isn't a fashion show, or we will be talking about this jersey he has on for the next 30 minutes. Well, we're going to be talking about something a bit more exciting to us than fashion, and that is sports. Now, the UEFA Champions League took place during the week and we saw some exciting games. There were a lot of goals scored, and let me tell you, Tottenham, Real Madrid were back at it again. Ronaldo causing trouble as usual. Barcelona treating Juventus like they're not the champions of Italy. Actually, they really played well. And we also had the likes of Liverpool appearing in the Champions League for the first time since 2014. They could only manage a draw. Now, what did you make out of the Champions League first round?
Well, but first, Adelani, it was very entertaining. We see there were matches that we expected them to win, the likes of Chelsea, Manchester United, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich. We expected all these people to win. But a very shocking result for me was Liverpool against Sevilla side, who no one envisaged they will drop points against a Sevilla side that we consider them Europa team, not the Champions League team. And Liverpool, with the experience that they have in Champions League, we're expecting them to win. It was a very entertaining, a lot of goals were scored, so many controversial decisions, but at the end of it all, we enjoyed Champions League being back.
Yes, definitely. We enjoyed the Champions League being back. And his team, Chelsea, were rampant in their, six goals. Chelsea scored 6 goals, and some of those goals were amazing.
Yeah, especially the Zappacosta goal.
It was a cross, though. It was
people
a cross.
say that, but then it turned out to be a fantastic goal. A goal that, they're one of the best in the Champions League so far. Come on. So, they played very well, Delany. Prior to the match, the coach said he's going to rotate the squad because he has too many games to play. They're playing 7 games in 21 days, which is a lot, and he's going to rotate. So on that fateful night, he was able to rotate Zappacosta coming in for Moses. We have Christensen as a youngster who also came in, and Batshuayi, who he preferred him to Morata, and he didn't disappoint. He scored 2 goals. We saw also Bakayoko scoring the goal. The team played together. They seem like a team that actually have that squad, that depth in that team right now, where we see the changes actually worked very well for them. So one we argue, though, that it was a small team that we don't know anything about, but then it's still Champions League.
Hey, trust Emmanuel Akura Ada to say that as a Chelsea fan, but amazing performance by Chelsea. Do you see them actually going to the latter stages of the Champions League?
If you remember on this show, I told you before that the teams I think will go further in the Champions League and Premier League. It was Chelsea, Manchester United. These teams, I see them because they are consistent. For over the years, they've had this experience. And Chelsea is the last Premier League team actually to win the Champions League in 2012. And now with the experience, they have a coach who has won it as a player, hasn't won it as a coach, but with the experience, and they have players who have also won it. And one important factor about this team is that they've been together for a long time. So I see them going far in this Champions League.
And Tottenham Hotspur were also impressive against Dortmund. winning 3-1. And before the cameras came on us, we were talking about a certain Mr. Harry Kane. Now, I mean, do you see Tottenham also doing well?
I pray so. We've seen them. They've been in form for the couple of years now. I mean, past 2 seasons or so, they've been in form, especially in the Champions League. They started very well, but at the end of the day, then they choke. It's a team that I pray and I'm wishing them they can go further, but then they also lack that experience. It's a fantastic team, no doubt. They have a fantastic manager, but when you talk about that Champions League experience, we talk about winning mentality, which is one thing that I think they lack in that team.
Okay, so now tell me, which game was actually the most interesting for you? I mean, Manchester United Basel ended up being 3-0. Let's just go through some of the results. PSG against Celtic. Well, Celtic couldn't handle Neymar, Mbappe running at them, and it ended up being 5-0. Also, we have Sporting beating Olympiacos 3-2. The Chelsea match we've spoken about ended up being 6-0. Real Madrid winning 3-0. Liverpool could only draw with Sevilla 2-2. Feyenoord, Manchester City winning 4-0. Besiktas beating Porto 3-1, overpowering them there. And Napoli also making light work of Shakhtar Donetsk, beating them 2-1. And we also saw Barcelona dispatching Juventus 3-0. Now, which game stood out for you and why?
FC Porto and Besiktas. FC Porto and Besiktas, in the sense that it was a game everyone we expect Porto to just win over Besiktas because they're a team that we don't so much know them in the Champions League in terms of the performance. But you saw on that night I watched Ricardo Quaresma, I watched Talisca, a former Benfica player. He was there and they destroyed the FC Porto, coming from away to win 3-1. It was a very entertaining, very competitive game, and that one stood out for me.
Okay, all right. We'll be going on a short break. After the break, we'll be coming back with the EPL. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Center Circle Show. Before the break, we were talking about the UCL, and oh, what a feeling it was having that anthem playing. These are the champions. I actually stood up to sing that anthem. Were you as dramatic
I was very
was?
excited. I was very much excited about the return of the Champions League. I mean, it's been like years, you know. As football lovers, you know, you want to watch it every Tuesday, every Wednesday. You want to watch this competition, and for them to be on break that long and coming back, I mean, it was an exciting
incredible
return for me.
All right, now let's move back to the EPL. Well, the EPL was also an amazing start. We were very much excited that I was back on our screens, and it hasn't failed to disappoint in the opening weeks. We've seen so many exciting games. Also, last week's results. Were there any shockers for you?
Last week result, no, because if you remember here, I told you on this show last week that Manchester United against Stoke City, the highest they can do is get a draw. It's a very difficult place for them to go to, and they have a coach who also understands the Premier League very well, and they have quality players. Yes. But team we saw, they scored 2 goals against Manchester United side, who have so much superstars, and that
I think the shocker of last weekend was actually Man City spelling liver P.
No, I wasn't surprised about it because I expected, though the scoreline was a bit too much, but I expected Manchester City to win, you know, with so much quality in that team. And if you look at the Liverpool side, I told you before that the transfer.
Well, they have the likes of Mane,
I mean,
Salah,
you look at
players.
How many do you mention? But you can mention the entire Man City team. You can mention without one player who is a weak link in that team. So you look at, if you analyze the two teams and you compare them in terms of individual performance, you will also discover that the players in Man City were just too powerful for the Liverpool side. So that wasn't a shock for me, though the result was, the scoreline was a bit too much.
And definitely he's happy with the progress his Chelsea side is making. And one thing sticking out for me so far in this season is just the performance of the strikers that have signed for the top teams in England. We've seen Lacazette with Arsenal. We've seen Alvaro Morata with Chelsea. We've seen Lukaku with Manchester United. Now, it seems like they're up for the challenge, though, these strikers.
It's very, I've never seen Premier League this competitive in so many years, you know. Now, right now you have these players, like you mentioned them, they are doing very well. You forget to mention Jesus Navas, Jesus Gabriel is there in Manchester City. He is also doing it. He came in towards the end of last season, and he is doing it very well this season. They are doing very well. It's a league where I think everybody thinks right now that they deserve to win the league among these big teams that we have in Premier League.
Wow, incredible stuff. Well, I mean, it seems like the Arsenal crisis was temporarily over when they played Bournemouth. But now, to the real test. They go to Stamford Bridge. And if I'm just going to remind Arsenal fans, and you know, the Arsenal fans watching right now, you could switch your TV set slow as I mentioned this piece of history, because in Arsene Wenger's 1000th game, he was, let me say, handed a present.
They were dismantled.
A present by the Chelsea side. They put 6 past the man. They didn't even care that, oh, it's his 1000th game. Don't let us beat them too much. Let's respect Wenger's legacy. No. They beat Arsenal 6-0. And now, Arsenal is going to be returning to Stamford Bridge. Last season, they didn't do too well at Stamford Bridge also. Yeah. It was the game. Eden Hazard was a real blizzard to Arsenal. And the likes of Coquelin was on the floor by the time Eden Hazard finished with him. Now, it's a different ball game this weekend, though. What do you see happening?
It's a different ball game, and it's a different coach, a different system. Remember when he lost 6, it was under Jose Mourinho, who was Wenger. Prior to that game, he never won any match against him. But now you see Arsene Wenger last season, he was the one that he actually made Chelsea to win 13 matches unbeaten. Chelsea were beaten there 3-0. And the return leg also, they tried, though Chelsea won. But you saw the last 2 or 3 meetings or so, Arsene Wenger won twice in the Community Shield and in the FA Cup final. So you see, it's a different, Arsene Wenger is understanding the coach in Chelsea right now. It's a different team, different approach. But talking about Arsenal and Chelsea, it goes down to the characters in these teams, in these 2 teams. And that is what has always been the case with Chelsea and Arsenal, because you have in Chelsea, you have players who are willing to step up, players who are fighting, players who, we remember we have Costa, who every match against Arsenal, we try to get a player sent off, you know, for his aggressive style of approach and all that. And you look at the Arsenal side, on the other hand, they have brilliant players, but then these players don't have the character to be able to beat a team like Chelsea. So it's going to go down to the coach and the 2 coaches. How are they going to approach the game tactical-wise? How are they going to approach the game? If they are going to be able, if Arsene Wenger is still going to be the same Arsene Wenger that we know, I don't see him standing a chance of getting something against Chelsea. But then if he's going to change his approach and make sure that he is still also a fighting spirit in these players, I see them not dropping points against Chelsea.
Okay, all right. We'll be going on a short break, and when we come back, we'll be back with one more Super Sunday game between Manchester United and Everton. And then we're going to discuss the latest story making the rounds in Formula One and also in tennis. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Center Circle show. And before the break, we were talking about Arsenal's chances at Stamford Bridge. Now, I just want Emmanuel Kurada to quickly give us a little bit of his vision of what is likely to happen. Is Alvaro Morata going to come in the 5th minute and then score a header, and then Alexander Lacazette equalize in the 15th minute? What does your crystal ball tell you would happen?
Like you mentioned earlier, these players, these strikers that we signed this season in Premier League, they're doing very well. Lacazette is scoring goals. Morata is doing it. And we saw in the Champions League, which Morata was on the bench. That shows you that the coach, Chelsea coach, right now has a bench. He has a depth in that team. So it's going to be a very difficult game for us, and I'm not going to lie about it. I'm not saying it as a fan. I'm saying it on a neutral platform. Yeah. And then you look at the Chelsea right now. Morata is stepping in for Batshuayi. You have the likes of David Luiz, who did not even play at all in the midweek. You have them coming back in. But then, do Arsenal have that depth in that squad for them to also do the same thing after playing Europa League and coming to play Chelsea on Sunday? It's going to be very difficult. So I see Chelsea getting result over Arsenal.
I mean, one of the big calls is Alexis Sanchez. Will he play? Will he play for Arsenal? He hasn't really been at his best.
But is he also going to be in a mental state to give Arsenal his 100%? Is another thing that we also need to put into consideration.
Well, it remains to be seen what will happen. We just have a bit over 24 hours to go before we find out that result. Now, another interesting match that will be taking place tomorrow is Manchester United versus Everton. Lukaku returning back to his old hunting ground. Now, do you see Lukaku breaking the hearts of the Evertonians?
It's possible. Manchester United is in the top form right now. They've not losing a game in Premier League so far. Everton, on the other side, they've been poorly with their results recently. And you see, it's not just about Lukaku. Rooney also is going back to his former club, Manchester United, a club which he has achieved so much with. Yes, and it's going to be a very tough game. Everton coach who believes so much in youngsters, he has the likes of Tom Davies doing it in the midfield, and they're doing very well. The coach also who has experience, and Mourinho, on the other hand, is a coach that don't want to drop any point this season. Against the Stoke City side, we saw what happened when he even had to an extent he refused to shake hands with the Stoke City manager. That shows the emotion, that shows the passion that he has for the game. It's going to be very difficult, but then, like I said to you about Chelsea and Arsenal, these games depend on the coaches.
Yes,
their approach.
And I mean, I remember a player from Stoke was quoted as saying Manchester United, like one of their weaknesses is their defense. Do you second that?
I tend to agree with them, with that person, because, I mean, you look at the United side, they have a striker now who is scoring a lot of goals, who is in form. You have a midfielder in Paul Pogba, though he's going to be out now. Is a miss for the Manchester United. But then you have the defenders. That
was Shaqiri actually.
Yeah, you know,
Shaqiri was the one that came out to say.
And it's the truth. You look at Jones. You look at Jones. Bailey, he has been here and there. He played one match today. We have one good game today. Tomorrow, you don't see him playing very well. So I agree with him. It's going to be one of their weak points. But then, is Everton going to be able to exploit that?
Okay. All right, now let's get your predictions for both games, Chelsea versus Arsenal. How do you see that going scoreline?
I see Chelsea winning 2-1.
2-1. Chelsea winning 2-1. Yeah. Well, hey, let's see. It could be worse. It could be worse. It could be 6. Now, moving on to Manchester United and Everton.
I see Manchester United winning 2-0.
Manchester United winning 2-0. Okay, well, it remains to be seen. Let's see whether his predictions are right. 2-1 to Chelsea in Stamford Bridge against Arsenal. And Manchester United beating Everton 2-0. Now we'll be moving on to our other segments that we discuss other sports. And the news has come out in Formula One. Valtteri Bottas has signed a new contract with Mercedes. Remember, he signed this deal over a year ago in 2017. And this was when he was replacing the retired champion Nico Rosberg. Now, the 28-year-old is third in this year's Drivers' Championship with 2 wins from 13 races, and his teammate Lewis Hamilton leads in the standings. And Bottas is in his 5th season in the Formula One, having also driven for Williams. Well, we wish him the best of luck with all of that. And the other story I have for you in the world of sports is Maria Sharapova hitting back at her critics and denying drug cheating. We all know she was banned for 15 months for doping. Now, how do you see like doping in sports, like athletes coming back from such bans? Do you think like people are too hard on them, or they should be given another chance, or they should be banned from the sport entirely?
I think people have been too hard on them. We heard that the same incidents in soccer where the likes of Ferdinand were banned for 7 months. They came back and they continue from there. I think it's the only thing that will make you realize your mistake. One thing that will make you know the consequences of whatever it is that you did wrong in the sport. And for people to say she shouldn't come back, or she's not supposed to be back in sport, I mean, it's not, to me, I don't think it's the right thing to say. We have to give them second chance for them to change. You have to allow them to come back, and this is what we know them for. This is what they're used to. So it's very hard for anyone to, or harsh rather, for anyone to come outside and say, she was not supposed to be back. I mean, she has served her time and now she is back. They should allow her to play.
Yes, I mean, you have the likes of Bouchard, Eugene Bouchard, who criticized her, and also you have the likes of Andy Murray, and she was using a banned substance called meldonium. Well, since her return, she's actually been on form, and this is leading to some tennis players saying this is actually unfair. She shouldn't have been allowed to come back. Well, I guess it's good for the sport.
No, well, it's good for the sports that they give you a second chance as well. But if they're doing it in another sport, why are they not doing it? Why are they not going to do it in tennis or any other sport for that matter? When I'm not advocating for people to take these things or do these wrong things in sport, but when somebody make that mistake, then it's for us to then bring that person close and make them change.
All right. Well, obviously, Emmanuel Akura is pro Maria Sharapova. Well, I mean, that is amazing. I'm sure if it was a player from Arsenal or rival club, he would have said they should be banned for life till further notice. If it was Alexis Sanchez that was caught for drug cheating.
I will never say that. I will miss him in soccer, so why should I say something like that?
Oh my goodness.
I mean, I believe in second chance.
We all know Akura, we all do. Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of the Center Circle Show. And thank you so much for watching the show. And let's see whether his predictions are going to be correct, because we'll be talking about it on next week's show. It's a goodbye from me, Adelani Ogurende, and Emmanuel Akura, the man with the very nice top today. Anyway, it's a goodbye from us. Until next time, we'll be back next week, giving you the very latest in the world of sports. Goodbye.